I liked it. I thought it was okay. My main problem with it was that it had no inner fire. I mean, it was pretty. It felt pretty lifeless to me.
Yeah.
And and maybe part of that is attributable to their choice of director, Sausage Gervais. I think wasn't that who's directed it? The director of Anvil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because both of these Hitchcock semi-biopics with the girl and Hitchcock, they're not the least bit cinematic. First of all, and this is a man who defined cinematic. And I would have loved for either one of them to have been done in the style of a Hitchcock film or channeled some sense of Hitchcock's cinema within their movies. But that being said, the portrait of Hitchcock is a lot better in this one than it is in The Girl. I mean, because you do see his sense of humor, his sense of play. You do, and most importantly, you get a sense of his genius.
Right.
Which completely missing from The Girl.
Right.
But I did feel like, and maybe this is part of why it's so outside of the kind of indistinctive direction, why this feels so lifeless, is because I think their concept of the movie was so watered down over the decade or so that it's been in development, because they kept trying to go at different angles. How are we going to do it? Do it this way?
Right.
The directors kept switching off, and so they finally decided on a theme that I think is pretty intriguing. It's that Hitchcock is the master manipulator. He's known as a filmmaker as being completely in control of every moment.
Right.
The ultimate master at that. And this movie picks him up at a time when it's being threatened that he will lose control over everything, including his reputation, his film career, and his marriage that he very much cherishes in his life, because she was the most important part of him.
Right.
So that's good. I just don't feel like the approach was deeply felt enough. It felt like a TV movie. I mean, it really did.
I was going to say, when I saw the trailer for it, I said, "Uh-oh, TV movie feel. I'm not getting good vibes on this." So,
and none of the peripheral characters, the only two characters that are fleshed out in any way in that movie are Hitchcock and Alma, his wife. The peripheral characters barely register. Scarlett Johansson comes across well because she has this kind of great elegance and poise in the movie. I think James Darcy was awful in his couple of brief moments as
right.
Ralph Macchio, you kind of sat up and said, "Oh, Ralph Macchio," but he was embarrassingly bad in my book too. And then and Vera Miles didn't register. None of those characters registered very much. The third character that the most drawn out peripheral character is played by Danny Huston as a Whitfield cook who Helen Mirren in the movie is kind of having a flirtation with.
And is this a real character, or is this a real person? This person?
Or? I don't know.
Is this a?
But either way, that seeing Hitchcock as a domestic scenes from a marriage kind of scenario, I mean, that idea doesn't really excite me. So
I agree.
And that's a quarter of the movie, because that's the heart of the movie is the relationship between he and his wife. The main conflict in the movie is he assumes his wife might be having an affair, and even our critic friend Tony Macklin, he was going back and forth with me about this because he thinks it's a very good movie. Even he in his review said that it's kind of drab, that whole subplot. But so I'm thinking that's a quarter of the movie, at least.
Yeah, I mean
that's a major deficiency. If a quarter of your movie you kind of oppose. So
it's too bad to me. It's too bad that these two movies, decided to focus in on his private life as opposed to his professional life. And I don't, honestly, I don't know how you would make the movie about his professional life. But, it's been in development for 10 years. Certainly this is a nut that could have been cracked. But, I don't understand, because, we have to look at the making of these two movies as being, in some ways, to varying degrees, a lost opportunity because, they're not going to make another Hitchcock movie. So,
I think this one is especially a lost opportunity. I really do. And I like the creative stuff. I like the stuff where, he felt like maybe I'm getting old and irrelevant, It's about him being, it's about at its best, like on paper, the movie should be about Hitchcock, the master of suspense and invoking fear in people, is being swallowed up by fear himself. Will I be irrelevant? And I think that is awesome. I think that theme is awesome. And if they had a director of some style that could do that movie in the style of a Hitchcock movie, that movie would pop off the screen. This one is dead on arrival in a lot of ways, outside of the two lead performances.
And so in the race for the best Hitchcock, is it Hopkins or is it Jones?
I think both of them deserved a better movie, especially Jones. But I don't oppose either one of them. But I think that Hitchcock is a better movie than The Girl, so Hopkins wins by default.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, with The Girl, I really liked Toby Jones' performance in it. I thought he really, even though, again, they can't get the look quite right, but
there's no character there. He is so much better than the character he was written. And the character amounts up to, in The Girl, Hitchcock, his tragedy is that he was never laid by a beautiful woman. That's all there is to Hitchcock in that movie. And that's offensive and juvenile.
Well, it says in both movies that you have not been happier making pornography films.
Yeah, but
I'm not being facetious when I say that. I'm being very serious.
In Hopkins Hitchcock
movies.
in Hopkins Hitchcock, it was one characteristic of the man. It was a perversion. It was he loved the beautiful woman, and he loved that he could exhibit control over them in a certain sense. But that's only one aspect of him. It's not the be all and end all defining aspect of him.